Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. This is Viewer's Voice. I am Gav, and with me this week I have got Dan, who's been on before, Ron, who's a regular, and Eoin making his debut. Loads to talk about in the next hour or so. If you're in the chat, throw your questions, your comments, whatever you like in there. Tonight we're going to talk about Naby Keita. We're going to talk about the injury list at Liverpool, and are we overly worried or just let it play out? And we're also going to talk about away to Manchester United, as United try splash 200 million quid on two players, and loads of other players will be linked in the next week or so, I presume. Ron, how are you, my man?
Good, glad to be here, Gav.
Yeah. How was your weekend? How was your week? Everything good?
So far, so good. Hopefully, I don't miss my tea time on Sunday, but we'll see about that one.
Okay, playing golf again. You have a great life, haven't you?
Absolutely. Huh?
You have a great life.
I mean, I have my weekends back now, so yeah.
Okay, good stuff, good stuff. Dan, how are you? Happy birthday.
Cheers, Gav. That's for my 4-year-old daughter. But yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
Good stuff. Busy at work?
Still in the mid-season F1 shutdown, so that don't finish till the end of this week, and then I'll be back to work next week.
Good stuff.
So yeah, I've had 2 weeks off, near enough.
Of course, you run one of the Formula One teams, don't you? You
basically
run one
of them. I'm in charge of. Well, I'm with one of the inspection teams for Red Bull. So yeah, we inspect all the car parts.
Okay, good stuff. And Red Bull doing very well as well. So you were taking full credit, I presume, because why wouldn't you?
No, it's a team game, Gav.
Okay. Well, I know Kev is a massive F1 fan, and if he was in Red Bull, he'd be telling you that he's basically winning the championship at the moment, even if he was just inspecting car parts. Owen, first time on the show. How are you, my man?
Good. Delighted to be here. So, raring to go all day. So,
yeah.
I was looking forward to it all day when I found out I was going to be on. So, yeah.
Have you plenty to say on Naby Keita injury lists at Manchester United?
Well, I usually talk Liverpool non-stop all day, so yeah, you might have to stop me halfway through a rant or anything like that.
When we get to 11 o'clock, I'll stop every one of you, and then I'm going to bed. So it's fairly. It might be your fault. It all depends who's talking at 11 o'clock. That person will get it in the neck at 11 o'clock. But look, as I said, we are going to talk about a couple of things this evening. Last night, myself, Johnny, and Keith done a show, the midweek fix, and there was. I only noticed last night when I was editing it that there was like a 22 minute conversation about Naby Keita, and Shawnee kind of had fairly strong views that if we get a bid for Naby Keita, we should sell him, and Keith was of the opinion under no circumstances to offer Naby Keita a new deal. Now, I think they're both valid arguments, but it kind of dragged me back to Jurgen Klopp saying, if we want a player, we'll go and get a player, but it has to be the right player. Not offering Naby Keita a new deal or selling him doesn't make the right player reappear magically. That's what I kind of thought. Now, that's not saying the lads are wrong, because they're not, because Shawnee and Keita usually bang on what they say, in fairness to them. But I wanted to kind of push it on. I wanted to see what you guys think and maybe what would happen with Naby Keita over the next couple of weeks. Of course, reports in Germany suggest he's not happy at Liverpool, and he may look for a move away. Reports in England say that everything's fine. Liverpool have had meetings with representatives, and something may happen in the near future. Let's see what happens. But Ron, I'll come to you first. Naby Keita, I see him. I see Jordan Henderson is one that splits a fan base massively, but I think Naby Keita is probably second in line to that. A lot of people would think he's a fantastic player. Hasn't been given enough opportunity at Liverpool, being unfortunate. And others have said no, he's 50+ million pounds. He hasn't turned up. He hasn't been fit enough. He hasn't been available enough, and he hasn't done enough on the pitch. And he really splits opinion. I wanted to see what your opinion is on him and the other lads, but I'll start with you. And what do you see in the future for Liverpool with Naby Keita?
My general opinion on Naby is I'm in line with what's something you actually mentioned in that conversation yesterday, which is I think for whatever reason, well, for a bunch of reasons, I think both parties kind of didn't get what they thought they would get. We didn't get he didn't try to be a midfielder that the fan base thought he was going to be, and he isn't as reliable as Liverpool might have thought he was going to end up being. And on his end, I'm not sure what he expected in terms of game time, in terms of reliance, in terms of what have you. But if he is unhappy, that might be the reason behind it. As far as him being divisive, I take a step back and try to think about it more realistically. That when he has played, he hasn't really taken a game by the scruff of his neck too often. But on the flip side, he is being asked to do something different than what he probably would have thought he'd been doing. So, in 5 years' time, should that have been fixed? Yeah, but it wasn't. So at this stage, I'm not going to be one of those fans that would be rather upset if we did sell him. Actually, I prefer we did because he's the more movable asset. But in terms of harboring any ill will towards him, no. I mean, these things happen in football. They happen in all sports, really. You try something with the best of intentions and it doesn't work. So you cut your losses and you move on. There's no sense in crying about it. There's no sense in throwing your toys out the pram and having a strop. Just, it is what it is. You've got what you've got. Make the best of it moving forward.
Yeah, listen, all very valid points. And I think it's a really difficult one. Dan, when you look at it, right, I don't think there's an argument this summer over what we should have done in midfield. I think it's very, very straightforward that Liverpool should have signed another midfielder. I think it's just the way people approach it. For me, it's either you can sit and go, I think you should have signed someone and maybe done this, or you can, start smacking things off walls and going absolutely fucking crazy because the signing hasn't happened. I don't think there's an argument there. I think Liverpool should have signed another midfielder to add to the quality that they have. But can you see Naby Keita leaving the club this summer? Or not being offered a deal and letting it basically run down for free when when behind it all you need one, and if he was to leave you probably need two. Are you hamstringing yourself even more if Naby Keita was to leave the club in the next couple of weeks? Unless you have this perfect player lined up and you just have to get one out before you bring one in.
Well, I mean, we all know that the club's signed players before at the drop of a hat when nobody's had any inkling. Fabinho is probably a case in point from a few years back. But I can't see how you allow Naby Keita to leave this summer with everybody knowing that we have issues in midfield, because you are tying a hand behind your back. You're basically saying to everybody else in Europe, we definitely need another midfielder because we've already got X, Y, and Z that are carrying knocks, injured for X amount of weeks or whichever way it is. And then you go and sell Naby Keita. Everybody's just saying, oh, if you want one of ours, you're paying an extra 10, 15, 20 million pounds on top. It makes no sense whatsoever to get rid of him this summer. You might as well keep him and let him run down the last year of his deal. There was a report yesterday out, or an article out from Neil Jones, obviously who works closely with the club, and he's basically said the club are actively looking to tie him down to a new 4-year deal. And I didn't read the whole article, but within parts of the article that I did read, he's basically said, Klopp has said that when he is fit and firing, he is first choice in his midfield three. He's one of the three in his midfield three in his eyes. So take from that what you want, but obviously Klopp still sees him as a massive asset in that team when he's fit and available. And to be fair to him, there is a perception that his appearances are not great. And when I looked at it earlier on briefly, 2017-18 at Leipzig, he makes 39 appearances, 9 goals, 7 assists. The season before, 16-17 at Leipzig, he 32 appearances, 8 goals, 8 assists. And then obviously it comes to us, 18, 19, 33 appearances, 3 goals, 1 assist. And then 2019, 20, he's got 27 appearances, 4 goals, 3 assists. 2020, 2021 is obviously the season of hell for us as a club because of all the injuries we have. It's obviously compounded by Naby only having 16 appearances in that season as well. So I suppose maybe that's also adding to the recency bias from people. But last year, 40 appearances across all comps, 4 goals, 3 assists. Now, the numbers for us aren't brilliant in terms of goals and assists because his numbers at Leipzig were far better. I think it's 17 goals and 15 assists in 2 seasons.
Yeah, but is that down to the style of play Liverpool have? Because you don't look for them midfielders to do an awful lot of that, and maybe that's where the frustration comes from fans where they go, "We don't have enough goals from midfield."
Yeah, because you look at that Hassan Tuchel formation that he played at Leipzig. So it was a flat back 4 with 2 kind of screening, and he was part of that first 2. Then 2 in front of that, then 2 up top. So his role was basically to break the lines. He was asked to go and press high, get possession in the final third. They were a counter-attacking team as well. So he suited that formation and that team. And we bought into that at the time when we were playing, not that same formation, but we were kind of playing the same way. We were a team that were very much a counter-pressing team that were high energy and turning over the ball high all the time. And then he comes into us a year later, and we've totally changed our style. So we're not getting that Naby Keita anymore, and he's not being asked to do that job. So I can see why people would be frustrated. I'm frustrated looking at it, Gav, because you see him in games and you struggle to see what he's doing. His stats might stand up, and he might have possession, turnovers, progressive passes, that kind of stuff might be all right to the naked eye, but he's not doing anything in games, is he? He's not doing what we bought him to do. And the problem is, our fans were looking at YouTube reels for 12 months before we signed him and seeing this midfielder that was all action, brilliant on the ball, could carry the ball for 20, 30 yards, was comfortable in possession, was comfortable pressing, tackling, doing all that. And he's just not done it for us.
Yeah, I kind of excuse him a little bit on the goals and assists because Gino Wijnaldum didn't put in an awful lot of goals and assists for Liverpool. I don't think Jordan Henderson does enough goals, and although Jordan Henderson I think has about 60 assists in his Liverpool career. But Thiago, he's probably the ball before the assist, stuff like that. It's just the way our midfield, despite it being, I think, really, really good in technical terms, especially with Thiago, is still very functional. Although it looks, a lot more technical than it did probably 18 months ago. People will say about his availability, and I think that's definitely something that you could look at Naby Keita and go, he probably should be available more. And then I see the argument where people say, well, he's been available for such and such, and he's, and I'm kind of going, well, if he's available for 100 and he's only starting 60, Klopp doesn't rate him that highly, because why is he playing him in 60% of the games? Having said that, and I want to come to you because it just popped into my mind while I thought this, does it make the most sense to actually renew Naby Keita's contract? Because we all know, the dog in the street knows, that James Milner won't be at Liverpool Football Club next season. I'd be amazed if he is. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain won't be at Liverpool Football Club next season, and I'd be even more amazed if he is. And then you probably start to look at Curtis Jones, depending on the season he has. Now that's probably an outside bet on, but does it make more sense to renew this contract? Because even if you renew this, you still probably have to do 2, just to replace the ones that won't be there at the start of next season.
Yeah, I guess from that point of view, renewing his contract does make sense. But I guess the Klopp and the owners are looking at it from a perspective of, if he does go, we need to bring in 3, and whether the funds are there to do that. Like we don't know, but I guess we don't really have players in the squad at the moment that can support the sell to buy model. So I guess renewing his contract from that perspective does make sense. Although there is doubts, as everybody knows, about his availability, about his performances. So it's a tough one, really.
What would you do?
I've been a Naby supporter. I've always kind of backed him. More hope, I guess, than anything else, that he would come good, that we would get the player that we thought we were going to get. I think, as Dan said, he hasn't been asked to play the role he played at Leipzig, and I think even towards last season, I think he was asked to kind of play a little bit of the genie role, and that kind of scuppered his attacking kind of prowess a little bit more. He is very frustrating when he is on the pitch, even more frustrating when he's not available. And I think even he suffers from illness more than any other player in the squad as well. He always kind of, when he's not in the squad, he's down his illness. So it's kind of, that's even more frustrating as well. Personally, I would definitely not sell him this summer anyway, because of the injury doubts we have.
But you have a decision to make then on, because if you don't do something with him this summer, i.e., sell him, use him as a make weight in like a Bellingham deal that a lot of people have mentioned and stuff like that, which I don't think happens. I can't remember the last swap deal I've ever seen. But if you don't do it, it starts getting into October, November, December. Then he can sign for anyone.
Yeah,
you know, kind of have to make a decision quick enough.
I would renew, because I don't think we're going to buy 3 midfielders next summer. I don't think. Yeah. No. I don't think we're willing to do that. So, if he can build on last season and those 40+ performances, then I would definitely renew. Yeah.
When you look at it and you think to yourself, you know, Fabinho hasn't started the season well, but he'll come good. He's Fabinho. Thiago reports are he's back running. Today I seen that somewhere today. Could be true, could be someone just messing, I don't know. But Thiago's back. Henderson, I thought Henderson was really good when he came on the other night against Palace. You look at Harvey Elliott, who's probably one of our better, I'd probably think one of our best players on Monday night. You look at Carvalho, who I think will figure more in the forward line, but Curtis Jones is still out. I'm not even counting Oxlade-Chamberlain at this time, because I simply go back to last season when he was fit and we were rotating and he couldn't get a game. And Milner will fill in where Milner needs to fill in. You know, if you're looking at that midfield and you take out Milner and Ox next season and you say, right, we've renewed Keita, we have Fabinho, we have Keita, we have Henderson, we have Jones, we have Elliott, we have Thiago, and then we're going to add 2 because Milner and thing are gone. I think it'd improve the age profile of the midfield. I think it would improve the quality of the midfield, and reliability. I think you could improve all 3 in one fold swoop with 2 good signings. So actually renewing them might make sense, because as you said, on signing 3 seems a bit of a stretch, you know, especially when you consider we probably should have done 1 this summer and we haven't. So it'll be interesting to see. But I'm going to ask you all around the table, go quick. Is Naby Keita here? Because I said Ox and Milner won't. Is Naby Keita at Liverpool at the start of next season, Dan? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Ron?
No.
No. Owen?
Yes.
Okay. I would probably go with yes, unless something mental happened in the next 2 weeks, where something absolutely mad could be done. I want to move on to the injuries, because we have got quite a list of injuries. You know, I think I counted the other day. Is about 8 players injured. We haven't seen anything of Calvin Ramsey, haven't we? Not. So that's one that's kind of out there. I'll come to you first, Ron. Are you worried about this, or is it just a case of, because everyone's screaming for a midfielder, it's kind of compounded? the actual injury list. And if we had a midfielder in, you'd be kind of going, yeah, there's a couple of people injured there, but nothing really to worry about. These will all come back. But is the whole midfield thing starting to kind of annoy people?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's the injury issue is highlighted simply because it's kind of similar to that disastrous season where we didn't have any center backs. We're getting a lot of injuries, but it seems to be concentrated in one particular area more than others. I don't know that it's something to blow out of proportion. Because the thing that, and you can accuse me of trying to see the best out of a bad situation, but I kind of look at it as, if we're going to have this problem in a season, I'd rather have it now than in the second half of the season. So if we're going to get through our injury woes, get everybody back early, this side of the break, then I'm kind of not as anxious about it. Whereas, if this breakdown is happening, in January, February, or somewhere around that time, then I'm a lot more concerned.
When I look at it, I kind of look at Calvin Ramsey and I say to myself, not overly worried over that. I think he arrives at the club with a knock anyway. But I would have liked him probably to see him get 1 or 2 games in pre-season just to bet him in, because I don't want him to really turn up where, oh look, we need to play him because of an injury here. Like at this moment, if Trent was out at the weekend, Joe Gomez has to play centre back. Do you move him to right back? If Calvin Ramsey just by emergency had to be thrown in, you'd be going, fucking hell, we're throwing him in a big Premier League game where he hasn't had a minute for Liverpool. You look at the Thiago stuff is well documented. The Ox thing is well documented. Jota, it's a recurrence of an injury from last season that he picks up with Portugal. And, I still go back to it, Dan, that I actually believe if we had a midfielder signed, I don't think people would be worrying so much about the players that are out injured. Although they are quality players, like Kanate would probably start in your 11. Jota would make an argument for starting your 11. Thiago most definitely makes an argument in your starting 11. But the rest that are injured that I can think of are probably bench the squad players, fringe players. So you probably wouldn't be too worried. Do you feel it's a bit of it's just something to throw out there because of a frustration over a lack of one signing? I think it's nearing that.
Yeah, I mean, had we signed a midfielder or maybe 2 in the summer, and we'd got the injuries that we're carrying now, I think people would have just brushed it off, said it is what it is. I mean, a lot of it I think stems back to the end of last season. Players were playing Euro Nations or whatever they're called. I don't take
one of
any
those
interest
made up
in
international tournaments.
Yeah, I don't take any interest in them as most people don't. But a lot of them players after a 55, 60 game season were playing these meaningless qualifiers, friendlies, whatever they call themselves. And then we've gone into a shorter summer break. A lot of them haven't had that time to go away, recuperate, recharge the batteries. And I think because of what Klopp said, I think it was post the Community Shield where he basically said he'd like to have extended, or he'd look to extend pre-season for another 2 weeks. I think he's run them players hard in training. I think he's been doing double sessions, maybe even triple sessions, and I think that's just caught up with us, which is why we're carrying a few niggles that we maybe wouldn't normally be carrying this time of the year, because pre-season normally he has them so finely tuned and they're ready to go that we don't usually see that many injuries early doors. I think it is just a case of that people are frustrated. They've not seen a midfielder come in, they haven't seen a forward come in, or whichever that floats their boat that day. And we've got a few injuries, but a lot of them are just niggles. Jota is probably maybe only a week or so away from coming back. I saw training pictures of Matip today wearing trainers. So he's obviously out running, and he had a pair of boots in his hand, so maybe he's done a bit of light contact work. I don't know. I didn't see him in any other training videos, but he's definitely been out running, so he can't be that far away. Gomez should be fine this week. I'm sure Henderson will be fine. Kelleher, I don't even know if anybody really knows what the issue is with Kelleher, but that can't be anything major. And then the right back should be fine in a couple of weeks. In a couple of weeks, we're probably looking at maybe just Ox on that treatment list if we don't, get any more. So it is an overreaction in my opinion.
Well, Owen Newell makes a good point here. He says, Jota, Kelleher and Ramsey had injuries away from us, so not much to do with us, whereas they've picked up injuries with nothing to do with Liverpool Football Club. Jota gets in an international duty. Ramsey has an injury at Aberdeen. Kelleher, does he get an injury with Ireland? I'm not too sure, but he does actually. I think he's in the Ireland squad and he's due to start, isn't he? And then doesn't. He does, groin issue for Kelleher, says Laura Duffy. So, in fairness, you hear all this stuff like, have they been ran too hard? Muscle injuries here, muscle injuries there. I'm not too sure. Like, Konate picks up a knock in that pre-season game, doesn't he, against Strasbourg? Thiago, yes, it's a muscle injury. It can happen to anyone, though. It does happen to Thiago a little bit. And like Owen, as Dan says, like if you look through them, you'll probably see Jota back in the next couple of weeks, next week or two. You'll probably see Kelleher just sneak back under the radar and he's on the bench, fine. Ramsey will probably appear and probably play another 23's game or whatever to get him up to speed, and you'll probably hear about that in the next couple of weeks. Konate is one where it's a bit, haven't really heard a lot. Matip, as Dan says, has been seen in training photos today. I did see that picture. He's in a pair of trainers and he has his boots in his hands as he's walking behind Van Dijk in one of the pictures. But on overall, like, they are injuries, but 2 draws, no midfielder signed. The injuries is the next thing you control, and I think it was Ashley said earlier, it just gives people that ability to say, I told you so. And I kind of do get that feeling, like if we'd have won our first 2 games, and even without a midfielder, if we'd won our first 2 games, people would be going, yeah, we have injuries, but we have the squad there and everything's great. But when you don't win a game on, you know yourself, the world collapses in on you.
Oh yeah, it's easy to blame those reasons for not. As the comment there said, it's we told you so. But I guess there is a injury doubt over all of our midfielders, bar maybe Milner as such. I guess the frustrating thing is that Klopp obviously identified a midfielder as a priority with the Chouameni deal that we tried to do. So the fact that we haven't gone back in to try sign a midfielder since is kind of maybe a little bit annoying for most fans when they know that it was a priority before the Núñez deal. So obviously, look, we know Klopp wants to wait for the right player, won't just sign a player for the sake of it, and that's obviously what he's doing again. And he's just going to go with what he has. I definitely don't see anybody coming in, even if we didn't have the injuries. We know how stubborn Klopp can be when it comes to that kind of area, transfers, and but as I said, every single one of our midfielders have injury doubts, and it's not just a new thing this season. So there are worries there for the rest of the season. I know some of the players might just have the small knocks, but as the season goes on, those kind of knocks could reoccur more often. And as Dan mentioned earlier, I think the pre-season does have a bit to do with that as well. It was very condensed, and he probably tried to fit a whole pre-season into that short window. So I definitely think that has an effect on what has happened.
Could it be a case of like, just touching on the 2 results so far and how we've looked? Could it be a case of we're probably a week, 10 days behind where we would usually be, and you'll probably see Liverpool click into more of a gear over the next 3, 4, 5 games?
Yeah, I definitely think we definitely will improve. I guess, look, against Palace, we were actually pretty good at times. We had chances, we didn't take them. Usually we do get punished for that, and we did. And even with 10 men, we were pretty okay. I think maybe we mightn't have seen Elliott this early, which he did play very well against Palace, which is a good positive. So, Klopp will probably have to trust Carvalho and Elliott more this season, and he was probably going to manage their games, maybe 30, 35 appearances between them. So that might have to increase. So hopefully that kind of a positivity can come out of the injury problems that we have, the emergence of Elliott and possibly Carvalho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Gav, in that Palace game, sorry to cut across there,
No, you're okay.
The opening 25 minutes, we create 9 chances and have 7 attempts on goal in that first 25 minutes. So we weren't poor against Palace.
I thought we were good.
We just didn't do what was necessary, and that's
Yeah.
not down to the players that we've got injured or a midfield that we haven't got. It's just that we haven't applied the necessary finishes to them chances. That's all it is. And I mean, the Fulham game was, we were poor in the Fulham game.
We were poor in the Fulham game, but I think if we go another 5 minutes in the Fulham game and don't concede that penalty, I think Liverpool are going to win the game.
Yeah.
I think if we take a chance, I think we take one chance, never mind 9 chances and 7 attempts on goal. I think we take one chance in that first 20, 25 against Palace. I think we want to win the game. It's just those small margins at the moment where we're not quite at our level at Fulham, and we're just not at our best in front of goal against Palace. Those things can come.
You think it's more of in terms of shaping perception, the manner of the performance for about 60, 70 minutes against Fulham was left such a bad taste that it's kind of warped perceptions a little bit, in the sense that it's just not something we're used to seeing. It's not something we're used to having to have in the back of our minds when we think about Liverpool. And I think that for all the people who like to blow their lid on the internet, like, I think that just, and for anybody watching Liverpool, that too, it just kind of gave the impetus, like, we're already starting things from a bad perspective in terms of a framing point. And I think that's just, everything that's happened after that hasn't done enough to really get that taste out of our mouths in terms of how we're looking at this. And it's just all kind of building on each other. And, it's why it's hard to get cooler heads to prevail in this scenario, because it's just that how bad that was hasn't really fettered out yet.
Yeah. Salah El Sharif says Liverpool have no creative midfielders, period. You should go and watch Thiago Alcantara play football. He's creative, like, and Harvey Elliott, I think, is going to become one of those as well. But overall, look, I think the injuries, I think we'll probably get a better feel for it in the next 2 to 3 weeks, where you will see players back, hopefully. And the ones that you don't see back, i.e. probably a Kanate and a Thiago, will probably have some sort of time scale on them where you can kind of target games, as if say he'd play in this one or he'd play in that one. So hopefully we do see that in the next little while. Away to Manchester United. Big game early on in the season. Third league game of the season. United, of course, have not started well. They were absolutely blown away by Brentford at the weekend. And something, I'm going to say it now, I'm a bit wary of this one. I'm a little bit wary of this one. And the reason I'm a little bit wary of this one is because we go to United last season, and it's one of those where they're not good, and we know they're not good, and we show them how they're not good, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. It's October, November when we go there, and they're all over the place, and we do a job on them. We're absolutely flying. We do a job on them. This one I'm a bit wary of, simply because they've lost those 2 games early in the season. They have to make some sort of marker. Ten Hag has to do something. Players that came in there and want to impress have to impress. Players that are already there have to impress. Now, I could be completely off off the wall here, and we go and bash them. But Owen, I'll start with you on this one. How do you feel going into this one? Because there's a lot going on. It's a pantomime. I can't stand fucking Gary Neville and the way he carries on about Manchester United. And we don't seem to talk about football in Manchester United anymore. We just talk about how old the seats are in the Stretford end. We speak about how they can get into the ground and give out. How they turn into Norwich every 4 months with green and yellow. And no one seems to mention the players. But where are you with this one? Because we haven't started well, although we're a much better side than them. Do you see this as a real opportunity for Liverpool to go, yeah, we haven't started well, but let's put down a marker now. Enough's enough.
Yeah, well, this is just a fixture that I just hate anyway. So I've always dreaded, even as bad as they've been in the last couple of seasons, I still have this from been scarred previously from us going to Old Trafford and dominating even their better teams over the years and still coming away with nothing and last minute winners and all that kind of thing. So I dread this fixture anyway. But going into Monday night, I think it's a huge game for both teams, especially United. I think they really have something to prove now. Ten Hag, if they can't get up for this game after they're bottom of the table, and if they can't get up for this game against their closest rivals, well then Ten Hag will know where he stands with half that squad. So they will have that in the back of their minds, the players. They know they have to put in a performance. They know the fans are unhappy with the performance on the pitch. They're unhappy with the owners, all that. There's talks of massive protests and marches and talks of getting the game postponed again. So it's unclear how that could disrupt their preparation or whatever, how the reaction in the stands are. But yeah, look, we know how big it is for us as well. We're already chasing City, and they're probably going to win their game at the weekend, and we'll be even further behind going into the fixture. So it's a must win for us as well, looking at it from that perspective. I do think we'll win. As you said, we're a far better team, and I think we'll prove that Monday night. But I think we will definitely see an improved performance from United. We have to. I don't think, they could be that bad again, and they've shown before that they can be that bad again. But as I said, Ten Hag there's talks of him bringing in 2, maybe another or 3 players before the window shuts. So a lot of those players have a lot to prove to him as well. And Monday night is an ideal chance for them to show that they should be part of his squad, part of his plans. And if they don't show up for that game, then he knows where he stands with all those players, and he knows who he can get rid of and leave out of the future squads.
My worry with Ten Hag is, he's being dealt a rigged deck for me. Or he brings in Lisandro Martinez, he brings in Christian Eriksen, and he brings in Malacia, the left back. All right. Talk is Casemiro's about to have a medical at Manchester United. That could work out well for them. I think he's a good player, but it could also work out in a way that Varane has worked out, where Madrid have gone. We've got every sinew out with this fella, and now we're going to sell him on for a big price because of what he's won with us. It's there to be seen. Regardless, he could sign 6, and he's still going to be left with 6 players coming in on Manchester United, and he's still going to have to play 5 of them pricks that played last season. That's the truth, right? And all of them last season, didn't do enough for him. Nobody on Manchester United done enough for him done enough for Solskjaer or the other fella, the secretary fella that they brought in, Rangnick. Yeah. He probably still doesn't know, although he should, who's up for it and who's not. But going to Old Trafford, Liverpool should be going there going, yeah, haven't played well in our first 2 games, taken 2 draws, but these are appalling. Because you don't do anything for Lisandro Martinez when you pair him with Harry Maguire. Mad, right? You don't do anything for Malacia when you're letting Luke Shaw play ahead of him. right? Gary Neville told us last week that the substitute of Malacia coming on for Shaw and the other ones was to get height on the pitch. Malacia is 3 inches shorter than Luke Shaw, right? You know, you then have Christian Eriksen, who he decides he's going to put in the midfield with, was it Fred and Bruno Fernandes? Bruno Fernandes hasn't turned up for United for a year. Rashford hasn't bothered playing for United. Ronaldo's playing and he doesn't want to be there. So there's so much going on at that club that Liverpool should be, if one thing Liverpool should be doing is going in and focusing them on themselves and saying, forget what's going on in Manchester United, because it's going to be an absolute circus on Monday night. Before the game, and I mean hours before the game, the lead up, it's on Sky. So you're going to have Gary Neville, and he's going to do another, get on his soapbox, he's going to take his Labour tie off, and he's going to put on his green and yellow tie, and he's going to tell you all how important he is. But Liverpool really need to focus on themselves and just think about the Palace performance and want to improve on it. And if they do, they'll win the game. There's no doubt in my mind they'll win the game. But I said earlier, I'll be wary because it'll only take them to get the first goal, or, you know, us to get a silly booking, and the crowd will get up for it, and they'll try to hang on to anything they can, you know, the sort of way. Dan, we go in there on Monday night. I think we have to win. I think it is up the stage. I think it was on to there. City will probably win at the weekend. If we don't win, we could be 6-7 points behind them. You know, I know it's early days, but with the level that these two clubs are at over the last couple of years, Dan, a lot of them are must wins. They just are.
Yeah, I agree, Gav. The season is so unique in so many ways because of the mid-season break, the World Cup. Then you've got everybody maybe having, if they go far in the World Cup, a week or 2 weeks off and then coming back. And then you've probably got the conundrum of clubs saying, do we send these players off for a couple of weeks holiday, and do we just, you know, make do for a couple of weeks to try and just rest their legs? So even if you're giving City 6-7 point head start, you don't really want to be doing that in a season like this, because you come in, you got the first 16 odd games in the league, and you got the World Cup, post World Cup. Then it's got to be a case of, if you are playing catch up, it's got to be a near perfect second half of the season. And post World Cup, I don't really see how our squad can do that. Not near perfect, especially when City, when you put them up against us in terms of numbers and durability of players, they trump us. But this game on Monday, for the best part of 20 odd years, I've hated playing Man United, home or away, hated it. And I'm the same as most people in the chat or most people on the panel. Can't stand United, hate them, and playing them every single season, home or away, whether we are dominant or not, has always been a game of dread for me. Because they'll be up for it, no doubt, on Monday night. They'll be up for it, but they are an absolute mess. I've watched bits of the Brighton game, and I watched bits of the Brentford game the weekend. They are absolute mess. They're shambles at the back. He's asking them to obviously to play out from the back and be progressive through the lines, and they've not got players that are comfortable on the ball. Not doing that anyway.
Well, do you have a goalkeeper that doesn't like using his feet or coming off his line in any situation? Yeah. You know, it's, and then you look at Harry Maguire can't play football in the back. I don't care what anyone says. Lisandro Martinez was probably brought in to be a football and centre half, which I think he is. You know, but then you look at the lot and you look at Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is more about running, is more about energy than playing football. He's more about up and down. And then I kind of understand trying to get Eriksen in there and Bruno Fernandes probably in there, you know, but you can't put the both of them in there with Fred. You just can't. You know, no. And it's not even on the ball and trying to progress the ball. It's when you lose the ball. Bruno Fernandes doesn't want to chase back, and Christian Eriksen isn't a box-to-box midfielder anymore. You know, he's won that fine space, and he'll fill in space, but he's not going to chase up and down all day. And you know, I just don't want us to focus on them too much. As a Liverpool squad, I want us to focus on us. And if we focus on us and block out all the shit that's going on, because there is shite that's going on, we'll be absolutely fine. Ron, confident, not confident, looking forward to it?
I am both confident and looking forward to it,
Nice.
even though normally I don't. In the past, I always had trepidation about going to Old Trafford, but this particular set of circumstances, I just don't see it. You're talking about a team in United who are operating basically on about 90% aspiration, 10% hope. If you notice, confidence wasn't anywhere in that equation. So in my opinion, my view, the first bit of adversity that they face in that game, they're going to fold. They just don't have the stuff. They've shown they don't have the stomach for it. Yeah, they'll be up for the game. They'll come out of the blocks. But if there was ever a case for a team to be a headless chicken, it'll be these guys. So it'll be a lot of frantic stuff. It'll be a lot of hidden hope. It'll be a lot of trying, a bit of individual brilliance, but I don't see that as a way of them beating us. They're literally only capable of taking what we give them. They can't dictate anything in this game. So for me, I'm looking forward to it. It probably won't be another massacre at Old Trafford like it was last season, but I'll just be happy with a win.
I'd be delighted with a win. Tom Boland wants to know, is Ron's confidence tenuous, I wonder? Of course, because
no, it's not.
Okay.
Tenuous is the word I use for United right about now.
It's probably one of the most favoured words now in the Telegram group, to be honest. Everything is tenuous. As a little nod to yourself every now and then. But
I didn't think that word was going to stick like that, but here we go.
It does. Once you say something like that, it sticks forever. There's nothing you can do about it. There's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I think, well, before I'm going to get predictions and stuff in a minute from you, but anything else before we move away from United, Dan? Anything else?
I was listening to a podcast maybe last week or the week before, and it was not just purely on United. I think it was on most of the teams in the Premier League, but somebody was talking about United and Ten Hag, and he basically wanted to get a 6 into the club that was not a archetype 6 that would be a destroyer, kind of ball winning defensive midfielder. He wanted somebody in there that would be able to play with the ball at his feet. And at the time I looked at that or listened to that and thought that's absolutely mental, that if he does that, because they are crying out for a destroyer, in type, and he's gone and got Eriksen, and he's kind of playing him in that deep lying role. And yes, he's a very good player, but I just don't see how he fits that mould of coming to collect the ball off the goalkeeper. If that's the way they're going to persist and play, then it spells trouble, to be fair. And Ron was saying, Ron's obviously very, very confident. The good thing about us is we are a well-oiled machine. We know what we're going to need to do. One goal down, one goal up. We'll just carry on and do exactly what we need to do. If they go one goal down, like Ron says, they will fall like a house of cards. And it could be 4 or 5. I'm
wondering, and I'll put this to you before we move on and get to the last few bits of the show. But I'm wondering, Owen, how many of those players that are still playing at Manchester United that were there last season are probably looking, going, you know what? If I could get out of here, I would. And they're not really that arsed. I'm being honest. Like, I look at some of them, and I even go as far as Bruno Fernandes, and I think to myself, he just does not look up for a fight here. Because that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to fight like their life depends on it, probably for the next 6 months to a year. Till he can get his way of playing into them and bring in more players. But some of them players are probably looking, going, why should I fight? And why should I put this in? Because he's going to get rid of me as soon as he possibly can, because that would be the safe thing to do, because they were appalling last season.
Yeah, and I think they have a huge issue as well with the contracts that they've given their players as well. The likes of Sancho and on absolutely huge money. I think even, as you mentioned, Fernandes there, I think even last season, towards the end of last season, he was kind of in a dispute with the club over his contract and over how much money and the length and whatever. And as soon as he kind of down tools a little bit during that period. And then as soon as he signed it, he hasn't kicked the ball once for him. So you'd actually wonder how much they're actually trying. They say, like, you often hear of players getting the big contract, and it seems like a lot of those fellas who are on big money, they just don't care. They've got the contract. They don't care how they perform, how the team performs. And I think there's a lot of players at United like that. You see, even, I know Phil Jones doesn't play, and they tried to ship him off to Bordeaux there not so long ago. And he just wouldn't go because of the contract he was on. He's getting 120, 130,000 a week. So he's happy to sit there. And I think there's a lot of other guys there like that as well. As the manager will probably ship a lot of them out over the next year or so, but they're just willing to sit there and take the money. And if they play, they play. If they don't, they don't. Because they're not going to get that contract elsewhere. And I think even looking at Casemiro, if they do sign him and there's talks that he wants him to play on Monday, if he's getting 400,000 a week, you'd have to question his ambition as well, going in there to an absolute shit show and, you know, getting that kind of money. And I'd question how well he's going to play as well. Like, even if he's going to try and they're going to pin all their hopes on him.
Would you not have to have him registered by 12 o'clock tomorrow to play on Monday? Because isn't it before the start of every game week that you have to have him? I could be wrong. It could be 12 o'clock Sunday, but I thought it would have been. I thought it was noon on the day before the first game of the weekend, if you get me, of the game week. But I could be wrong. But look, Casemiro wasn't mentioned for Manchester United all summer, right? They're following Frankie de Jong around like a fucking dog with two Mickeys, right? They're like, you know what I mean? Your man Anthony, just go to Ajax and say, what's the price? Because that's what they're doing anyway. It's gone from 40 to 50 to 60 to 80. Where's it going to stop? But, Ajax will sell him. They will fucking sell him. But they're going to get as much as they possibly can. They'd have been quicker going in there and going, what is the price? And they go, 100 million euros. And they go, well, we either take it or leave it now, because that's the price. They just take forever. They keep going and going and going. It doesn't look like there's a plan there. And I'm starting to wonder, I'm starting to wonder a little bit, very early doors, how much control Ten Hag has over these signings. Because, and I'm not even saying it because of the link with Casemiro, all of a sudden, and the Anthony thing's going on, and Frankie de Jong thing is going on. It's the Ronaldo thing. Like, from what you've heard of Ten Hag's come out and he's basically said, look, this fucking Ronaldo stuff's a load of bollocks. But still Ronaldo was there. And I hear today he's been offered to Borussia Dortmund. They've no interest in him. You know, is he being stopped from being strong in these situations? This could be all just, you know, we're thinking this because it's the easiest thing to think. But it just seems a little bit weird there at the minute. Now, maybe just he needs time, and the amount of bodies he needs to get out, he has to be a little bit careful at the start, so there's not an absolute domino effect where they all want out in the next 2 weeks and they're saying, look, I'm not fucking playing, and he's no squad left. He kind of has to balance that as well. But just looking at him
in his presser before Brentford, he I wouldn't say he was spiky, Ten Hag, but every other question was angled towards Ronaldo, and I think he was just basically, by the looks of him in that interview, was just move on. Give me another question. I'm not bothered. He's here or he's not here. Let's just move it along. I've already answered that question, or I've already answered that question. And every single time he was just like, I can't be doing with a circus. You could see in his body language he's just not bothered. Yeah. He just wants it gone already.
Yeah.
Do you guys think a bit along with that though? Also, kind of clouding all this is the fact that, you know, United at this point in time are a club that reek of desperation. So if you're on the other side of a deal with United, especially if you're trying to buy somebody, if you're looking to buy one of their players, you are in the driver's seat. You can sit there and wait for a cut price deal, because these guys have got to move bodies if they're really gonna fix this squad. I want a cut rate deal.
Yeah, I think that the showing from last season and the players that are still there's a lot of them that needs to go. But you can't do it all in the one go, you know. And I think he's been hamstrung a little bit by trying to balance the players that he wants to use, the players that he has to use, he's being forced to use, and the players that he's brought in. I think it's a hard balancing act from at the moment. And I think you're right. I think there is a bit of desperation. It looks like desperation because every other club and every other manager know, and every other sporting director around the world know, that half of these pricks playing for Manchester United shouldn't be anywhere near it. But if you want their player to come in and replace you, one of those, we're going to absolutely screw you for it. Yeah? Or we're just going to say no. Or the players are going to say, no, I'm not going there, because we've seen it. You know, we've seen players turning down and saying, like, Frankie de Jong doesn't want to go there. You know, the sort of way. So you're actually seeing that happen as well. So I think it's a hard balancing act for them. But their answer is always the same. Give 60 million for Casemiro's being ran into the fucking ground at Real Madrid for, would it be 10 years? Is that Real Madrid?
Best part of a decade, I think. Yeah.
And you know, when you look at that, like Arnautovic, what the fuck was going on? Did that have to be a wind up, right? You know, but you look at it and you say, like, the Anthony one is just the second coming of Frankie de Jong signing, where it's just going on and on and on. And this is because the perceived situation they're in, and everyone knows the situation they're in. Because look, we can talk about it. You know, Mark Goldbridge can talk about it, or any of the United fanzine or whatever, or podcast can talk about it. Any of the Liverpool one, any of the Premier League one can talk about it. But at the end of the day, all these agents and all these players know every ins and out of every club. They can find it in all the information in 5 minutes, and it's all a big chess game. And that's why they end up paying masses of money. That's the swing, the piece that swings it. And most of the time, it gets them to the club, but it doesn't actually get them as the player that you want them to be at the club. Like when you sign your man off Arsenal, right? And you have him playing piano on the fucking Old Trafford pitch. Like, would you fucking stop it? It was like, I thought fucking Beyonce was at the releasing a new album when I seen the fucking start of it. But that's the situation they're in. Long may it continue, as far as I'm concerned. But listen, the leader of the Labour Party, Gary Neville, will sort it all out at some stage. Have to move on. IP Vanish is a sponsor of this show, so I must read it out. And I have to write down what time I'm reading it out at, so I don't forget. IP Vanish is a VPN to make it easy to stay truly private and secure on the internet. IP Vanish helps you safely browse the internet by encrypting 100% of your data. This means that your private details, passwords, communications, browsing history and more will be completely shielded from falling into the wrong hands. Even your physical location will be hidden. IP Vanish makes it virtually invisible, makes you virtually invisible online. It's that simple. You can use IP Vanish on unlimited devices without sacrificing on speed. Your computers, tablets, phones, even your Fire Stick if you're streaming media, which a lot of people do. Whether you're at home or in public, don't go online anymore without IP Vanish. They're offering 70% off their yearly plan for our listeners with a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's like getting 9 months free. 4.6 out of 5 rated on Trustpilot. www.ipvanish.com/Daytrippers, and you can pick up that offer. Predictions for the match. You know the rules. You have to give a score prediction, and you must give Liverpool scores if you think they're going to score goals. Dan, Manchester United v Liverpool, predictions please.
0-2, Salah and Diaz.
Nice. Owen.
Same scoreline, 2-0, and I'll go with Salah to get 2. Salah to score a penalty as well.
Okay, nice. Always up in the ante. I like it. Ron.
0-2 to the Reds. Van Dijk and Salah.
Did you say 2-0?
Yeah.
We all gone 2-0.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Ashley says, remember when Gav said he would pull whoever was talking at 11? Who was talking? It wasn't me. It was 10:59. So I think it might have been Dan. It might have been Dan. Kieran has 2 or 3-0. If we were still chasing De Jong, can you imagine the stick we would be getting? It doesn't matter who it is chasing him. It's going on about 14 weeks. And it's just going on and on and on, and nothing's happening.
It's the fact it's in public as well, which is the worst thing.
Casemiro went to Madrid in 2012 on loan, says Laura Duffy. So there you go. So he is there a decade. 3-1 to Liverpool, says Maverick. Not giving goal scorers, so I shouldn't have really read that out. So there you go. 3-1 Liverpool for me. Elliott, the score, because I think he starts. Firmino, the score, because I think he starts. And I'm tempted to say Salah, because why not? Yeah, go on. I'll take Salah. Make it 3-1 to Liverpool.
Are we going to go 1-0 down again?
No, I think we might be 3-0 up before they get one. I'd hate to see us go 1-0 down, because all the ingredients are there if we go 1-0 down for, Old Trafford to be bouncing and we have an off night, and it's like they're the fucking saviours of world football again, and I'm like, they're not. They're arseholes. So, no, I'd like to see us come out, and I'd like to see us score early. Not even early, just score first. Because I agree with all of you. I think you've all mentioned that if we score first, they could crumble. And I'd love to see us score first and see what happens. Panov says 3-0 all day. Brace for Salah. Diaz 1. Mark my words. Jesus, very threatening from Panov there. 7-0 says Kevin Ball, clearly on the cans. Salah gets 4 goals for Bobby, Diaz and VVD. Salah hat-trick for VVD as well. So 4 he's gone for in Archie. Let me see. 3-1 says Bonkers. Salah, Trent and Diaz. A lot of people are very, very, very confident on Monday night, but as I said, we have to go out and do our job, and if we do our job, we'll be absolutely fine. Before we go, Bobby's wish to walk is on your screen there. Bobby Smith is age 7. He is looking to get the same treatment that Sienna got, and we helped Sienna with last year. Sienna at the moment is absolutely flying. She was on holiday recently, swimming pools, jumping around the place, climbing, all sorts of stuff. Even small things that we noticed when she put out videos like catching and throwing and stuff like that she couldn't do properly because of the spasticity she had before she got her treatment. She's now doing that. She's flying. And Bobby needs the same treatment. It's going to cost €150,000 to send Bobby to St. Louis in America to have this treatment and then come back and have extensive physio when he comes back to Dublin. Currently, it sits at 133,000. Which is amazing. 17,000, under 17,000 to go. I think it was 133. I'll double check it now. I'm nearly sure it was though. So it's absolutely flying. The support he's getting from this podcast, from our listeners, from our contributors, from our hosts, lads that help us out, to football clubs in Ireland, League of Ireland clubs I've seen, right across the board has been unbelievable, and it's kept his name out there. It's kept people giving, sharing, telling friends, telling family, having, fundraising things here and there. It's been absolutely incredible to see. And I always say it a bit tongue-in-cheek, I want to get this done as quick as I can to get out of the way. And it's not to get out of the way for my doing, because we move on to the next one. And it means that we've helped somebody, they're going to get their treatment, they're going to have as much of a normal life as they possibly can, and we move on to the next person, or, institution that we can help, or whatever it might be. So we do like to get these out of the way quick, because it means the child is sorted quick, and it means that we get on to our next one and we can help somebody else. So if you can, the link is in the description. You can donate there. If you can't donate, you copy the link, you send it on to friends, family, colleagues, wherever it might be. They might donate, but if you're passing on, just say to people, donate if you can, but if not, please pass it on, because we all have WhatsApp groups and Facebook Messenger groups and all, where there's loads of people in them, and if you can just send a message in there and say donate, or just share, and you just keep sharing, we will get Bobby to that 150,000 ASAP. That's the biggest thing for the channel. I've said it so many times before. Views, likes, subscriptions. We've cut off all ways for you to give us money. So that tells you that we don't need your money. We don't want it. We want you to give it to Bobby instead. So we can get to that 150,000. Bobby will be off to St. Louis. He gets sorted. He gets on the same track that Sienna's on, which is an incredible trajectory she's on for life now. It's unbelievable compared to, say, 12, 15 months ago. And that'll just make our day, it'll make our week, our month, our year, our season, if that can be done. So please help out if you can. If you're listening on audio, which it might be after this, because when I edit and put it out there, it will be there for you. If you're listening on Apple or Google or whatever app you might use, hit the review button. Give us a review, 5 stars, leave a comment, wherever you want, feedback. Do that on your app, on your phone, or wherever you listen to, and it really helps us get more people to listen to us and interact. I do this all the time, so here we go. Dan, anything else before we go?
No, nothing from me, Gav. Thanks for having me on.
No problem at all.
Stay safe, everybody.
And happy birthday again.
Thank you.
Gareth has 3-0. Diaz, Virgil and Trent. I just thought I'd throw it in. Ron, anything else before we go?
No, thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to Monday and seeing the seeing the post-game review. So let's go.
Good stuff, and enjoy your golf at the weekend.
Thank you, sir.
Send me a link to the golf club we're playing, will you? I love looking at golf clubs that people play, the courses and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, send me the link.
Yeah.
Just message me and I'll have a look at it. Owen, first time on, won't be the last. Hope you enjoyed it. anything else before you go?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, Gav. Really enjoyed it. Looking forward to Monday, I guess, and then looking forward to getting back to Saturday and Sunday football because I'm kind of getting sick of
Yeah,
Monday
me
fixtures,
too.
so.
Yeah, Monday's a pain in the arse, isn't it?
Yeah,
You don't mind
like
the
it.
odd one, but like this is ridiculous now. This is like they've put us into Europa Conference football and just thrown in on a Monday for the crack. It's just mental. But now look, Monday and then we're back. When our next one will be? What's our game after United? I don't have that much stuff going on. I can't remember the fixtures.
I haven't looked that far ahead.
I haven't looked that far ahead either.
No, I do. I'm brutal. I'm terrible. Like I literally do all the stuff on United on Monday, and then I look on Tuesday and go, right, who's on the weekend? That's how it works. But anyway, we're going ahead. We are going to have the Premier League forecast tomorrow. That's heating up already. I'm really enjoying that because the fancy football, we're going to have the list of the top 10 players in our league. We're going to bring you the top 10 players in fancy football, i.e. the Haalands or Salahs or whatever it might be. Talk to them. The lads are going to talk through 4 of the fixtures over the weekend as well. A couple of guests on there. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Should be really good. Sunday will be the Fatback 4 where we'll do a full-on preview of United v Liverpool. Monday will be full-time Reds after United v Liverpool. And we're trying to push winners and losers into Tuesday then. So we'll have a Tuesday show for you as well. That has been the viewer's voice. Thanks a million to Dan, to Owen, to Ron, and everyone in the chat for your comments and your feedback. Have a good one. Over now.